We're here at the Auto Expo, the Component Show 2025, and I have a very special guest with me, Mr. Anuj Kapuria. Mr. Kapuria, thank you very much for talking to AutoCar Professional. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
If you could give us a sense of your business, how it's unfolding, given your focus on automation, on robotics, and also on safety. We're seeing safety becoming a big buzzword in the Indian automotive landscape entirely, be it the passenger space, two-wheelers, commercial vehicles. So broad perspective on these two categories which your company focuses on.
Sure. So let me start by saying that, I was doing my PhD at Carnegie Mellon.
Yeah.
This was way back, almost 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. And it was on autonomous vehicles.
Okay.
I was part of this race of autonomous vehicles called the DARPA Grand Challenge. Mm-hmm. And that became the seminal race of autonomous vehicles. So my passion and love is technology, but technology meeting a use case.
Right.
So the central mission for our team became that how we can use these technologies to actually ensure safe roads.
Right.
And we are trying to drive another mission for fleet operators to drive zero accidents for fleet operations, right? And all of our technology development then centered around that. Mm-hmm. As you already know, and we spoke a long time back, that most of our technology and autonomy started from defense.
Right.
We are a key partner for Indian defense, and most of the ground vehicles, autonomous ground vehicles, all of some amount of our technologies, any system that is autonomous in Indian defense scenarios. So this became the genesis of the technology, and then we transplanted it to various use cases for road safety. And now, specifically today, we actually had the privilege to launch with Eicher Trucks, which is a part of Volvo Eicher.
Yeah.
And had the privilege of having their MD, Mr. Vinod Agarwal, at the launch for a safety solution for mining operations.
Okay.
Specifically.
Right.
So I'll just tell you a little bit about mining operations.
Sure.
Mining, open mines, as you know, are 24/7.
Yeah.
The environment is less than ideal. It's absolutely dusty, very narrow roads, and these trucks have to move continuously because they have to keep taking out earth, right? Continuously.
Right.
So in that scenario, no regular safety solutions actually work. Mm-hmm. So what we created through, and this is our patented technology, are a camera, AI-based camera, which is looking at the driver and ensuring that he is not unresponsive or unattentive or drowsy or anything like that,
right,
and making sure that he gets alerts. Mm-hmm. Secondly, we are looking outwards,
right, and
here we are using radars as well.
Okay.
Because of inclement weather, this has to run any time of the day. Lot of dust is getting sort of in the atmosphere. Mm-hmm. So radar is one of the technologies we're using along with cameras.
Okay.
Both at the front and the rear of the vehicle, to prevent and basically to alert the driver and prevent any crashes.
Right.
And then if you've ever driven at night, somebody coming with high beam towards you, you're blinded. Yeah. You're practically blinded.
Correct.
So here we are using again simple vision technologies to understand whether there's a high beam coming towards you, or if there's an oncoming traffic, and then you dip your vehicle's beam to low beam.
Okay.
And if this is then attached to every vehicle in the mine, then everyone sort of does that autonomously.
Right.
No driver intervention is needed.
Right.
And this is a patented technology of ours, but also we had worked with the DG, Director General of Mining Safety, to create a standard around this.
Okay.
So hence we also follow that standard of mining safety.
Right.
And we're proud to launch it with, of course, Eicher Trucks in this case.
Right. And if you look at ADAS in general, Mr. Kapuria, so how do you see the adoption of ADAS from an India market perspective?
So I think ADAS globally has usually been driven through regulation.
Right.
But then you always find discerning drivers who look for safety features.
Right.
And now we are seeing a premiumization trend, right? Which is happening in at least the passenger cars. And I'll talk about commercial vehicles separately, right? Because they're definitely very different markets.
Correct.
So in the passenger cars now with Bharat NCAP, at least you get to know how good or how safe your car is.
Yeah.
So there will be some discerning buyers who will get these kind of ADAS safety levels. Unfortunately, or what is the current trend is that most of the high-level ADAS technologies from the OEMs are coming through their country of origins.
Okay.
So Korean makers are getting from Korea, German makers getting from Germany, and so on and so forth.
Right.
What happens though is that in Indian roads, they're so different.
Yeah.
If you've seen in Europe or in the US or anywhere else
More
in the world.
systematic.
Not just much more systematic, the traffic density on our roads is much higher than anywhere in the world.
True.
Right? There are only certain roads that are used maximum, and the rest of the roads are all empty.
Yeah.
Right? And the infrastructure is now even becoming better.
Yeah.
So the speeds are increasing.
Correct.
But what is not changing is essentially, everyone forgets the human factor, right? An Indian psyche and human factor. So you can't just transplant what works for a German driver for an Indian driver.
Right.
Though I'm sure they're doing homogenization of this and trying to, cater to the Indian market. But what we feel is that the germination of this technology or the mass adoption of this will happen through homegrown Indian technologies.
Okay.
And that's where we have the edge. Since we're doing it for more than decade and a half now. We have traversed over 7 billion kilometers of diverse road conditions.
In India.
We have over 1 million drivers' data on how they drive, what they do, what happens on Indian roads, which gives us a unique advantage. And we have patented these technologies, and we've also obviously all of this is homegrown, right? Built out of India. And what I say in my organization is, if you're able to crack the India use case, you can do anything.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
You can do it anywhere. So because the edge cases here, the unusual behaviors, are what you see the first time you put your vehicle on the road. Right. Where billions of kilometers of simulation are not enough in the West, right? Because they can't even imagine what will happen, which happens here, right? So I think there will be a slow take up in the passenger car segment.
Okay.
To my mind, some discerning buyers, like I said, will start, and then slowly it will pick up as people become more aware, and eventually when mandation happens.
Right.
I'm also part of the CII task force on road safety. So on 16th we had the second conclave, and with Honorable Minister Gadkari was there, and he has a special passion for road safety anyway. The government has taken a tall target of 50% reduction in road accidents by 2030. It's been a target that's been missing, pushed a couple of times. But I think the way they are looking at it, they are quite open, and what I'm proposing for them as CII is looking at the driver. So rather than how autonomous technologies are looked at in the West is more remove the driver. What we need to look at is how do we create technologies with a human in the center and design around them to assist. Right, and that's what we are pushing towards the government as well, and they are very keen. What we are looking at is whether we can create a public infrastructure like we have the UPI, like we have the credit score, right? What if we were able to create a driver score through these sensors, right? So the problem is the infrastructure is improving, but the accidents are going up. The reason for it is it's 80 to 90% is humans. Driver error, right? So how do you reduce that? We've already over 70,000 vehicles use our systems on the roads. We've already saved over 200,000 accidents from happening, prevented them. Through these technologies, right? Because we are cloud connected and we do a closed loop solution around it, right? So how that works is that in this data, we see two types of drivers. One driver, what we called a compliant driver, essentially, as soon as you give him a warning, he will correct his behavior, and then you will see slowly the warnings also come down because they want to learn, they want to be safe. And there is another set who we called resistors, right? Who will ignore. They need a lot more hand-holding, they need coaching and so on and so forth. So the driver score is essentially an attempt towards that. Right? And in the insurance agencies, you could, essentially what we are thinking is that you could incentivize good driving.
You link the score with the premiums of your policies.
You can penalize also, you can enforce also, but you can also incentivize. today the insurance companies work, as you know, the good drivers, I'm assuming we are all good drivers here as we are talking, we subsidize insurance for bad drivers.
True.
Right? It's the same pie essentially.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? But that's not fair.
Yeah.
So if with this score you can actually do something much more, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a mindset change. How do you hasten that? I think, a driver score, even mandates can fail, by the way. But if you can make people understand and gamify this experience, maybe that could be a push towards behavior change.
Right.
And the ministry actually liked this idea, so we're going to push this through and see if we can set up this as a public infrastructure, so anybody can use it.
Right.
Other organizations can use it as well. It's not company specific.
Right.
It's company agnostic. It could be a common platform.
Right. And what opportunity or potential of saving lives by preventing accidents you see for very low cost interventions, low cost technologies, which I think is very crucial for a market like India.
Right. So exactly. Yeah. I think as you're transplanting global technologies, the price point is definitely a challenge.
Right.
When you're making it in India, and that's another USP of ours, but that we try to make sure that our price first match.
Right.
So there's a price product market fit also very important.
In India, absolutely.
Absolutely right. Yeah. So what we do is that we try to train, and that's our USP, where we try to train our models and keep the AI model. We are very AI heavy. Right. And AI you can run on an NVIDIA chip also, which can be very expensive, or you can run it on a very, very basic compute also.
Right.
And our USP is that we can run very high-end models at the low-cost chip to give a performance of what a high-end model with a high-end chip would.
Okay.
And that's what we are offering. So I think that becomes our differentiator, and that's how we are seeing, popularity for our systems.
Right. So beyond commercial vehicles, Mr. Kapuria, what's the business strategy for you going forward for these solutions for the other vehicle categories, primarily the passenger vehicle segment?
Passenger vehicles, like I said, we have started working with a few pass car providers, but we are in early stages of development with them. The validation cycles that they require are high.
Right.
So we are in continuing discussions with them, and I think the next 3 to 5 years you'll see a lot more models of passenger cars having these features. You'll see a lot of penetration down the pyramid, lower democratization will happen, and that's where I think we will have a major chunk of the market share, and that's how we are positioning the organization as well.
Right. And also any challenges in terms of the calibration, the development. There's no standards in the first place for ADAS in India right now. So going forward, if you could give us a sense of the roadmap, how is it going to evolve and shape up?
So as you rightly said, currently there are no published standards, but the standards are in the works. We are part of working groups, and the government is active in that, in trying to see how we can bring safety standards to India for India. As you probably know, in EU, GSR 2.0 is going to become applicable by 2026. We are working on similar standards in India for internal driver monitoring. AIS 184, we actually helped ARAI create the testing standards, because our devices were the first ones to sort of provide these kind of features, right? And then there is similar one for outward facing cameras and other safety devices that are going to be around. Right. What we are also doing is that since these sensors are now in passenger cars, we are looking at what we can do further than just driver monitoring, right? So in our stall, actually, we have also launched what we call occupant monitoring. Right. So we are monitoring not just whether the person is paying attention or not, but we are also looking at cognitive states. We are also looking at the mood and the health of the driver, inebriation levels of the driver, and all of that through AI and computer vision. Right. And that will be the next level, right? So you can personalize certain features for passenger cars, right? So what if the car were to recognize you and say hello, welcome, and just ensure entire personalization around your desires.
Right.
Then also we are looking at how safety for restraints like your seat belts and airbags. Right. Depending upon who's sitting in the front seat, where the driver is sitting, what their position is, what their weight and height is the female or male, what age category it is, the restraints need to be different.
Right.
There is a whole study that has happened that with female drivers, right, if you apply the same force, you get a lot more injury.
Yeah.
Right. So it all depends. Now, those are the next level of sensing that from these sensors who are assisting the driver can actually become part of when to trigger the airbag.
And you'll modulate the force of the pre-tensioning.
Exactly.
And all
The
those
pre-tensioning can happen of the seat belt and so on and so forth. So those are the things that we are sort of further enhancing for the passenger cars.
Right. Talk to me about the R&D behind all these things that we're going to see, Mr. Kapuria. What's going on in the labs that you have? What is your investment roadmap going forward? And also, are you also eyeing any opportunities overseas? Because if you have that kind of capability with you.
Yeah. So let me go one by one. I think from an IPR and a technology development standpoint, we've always been at the forefront. We have over 100 patents, and we continue to file quite significantly. This year itself, we would have filed over 50 patents around these areas. So, we've kind of 50% increased our patent count. And we file them not just in India, we file them in the US, we file them in countries in EU, where we find that there will be commercial interests in the future. Right? So there is a whole roadmap of our technology and how we see that penetrating, but linked to our IPR roadmap. And this is driven by obviously our people.
Right.
We have an R&D center in Gurgaon itself, where we house close to about 400 people who are working in these technologies. We've got PhDs, we've got masters and international and Indian, who are continually working on these cutting edge technologies. That's what helps us keep. And that's what our investment is essentially, is people.
Right.
And we will continue to do that. We will continue to do that as we progress.
Right. And if I may touch upon another vertical of your business, which is these industrial robots and industrial automation. So what's the emerging trend there, and what is your status in that particular area?
So as I said, my PhD was in autonomy, right? So essentially, what are the use cases that touch autonomy? One of the use cases that touched autonomy was also robotics. Right? So essentially, you can think about these mobile robots and affiliate systems as EVs inside a plant or a warehouse. Right? Autonomous EVs inside a plant or a warehouse. So we are leaders currently there. We are seeing a lot of growth in that vertical as well. With the automotive is one of our key segments anyway. In automotive, as you know, the capacities are growing and they're changing, right? Like if you're putting EV capacities, you are changing. Right. We are pioneering a concept called Novus Factory. So what we are saying is that the 100-year-old concept of the conveyor-based assembly line is now no longer relevant. Why that is? Because the consumer's mind is now fickle. Changing technologies are coming, you need a lot more flexibility. You put a conveyor and you have fixed your throughput, your issues, everything is fixed now. What if you were to able to break it up and use these mobile robots in configurable manner, driven through AI, where you can have truly flexible manufacturing. And we are partnering with various organizations who are using our mobile robots, including, I can cite, if you were there in the Mahindra launch.
No, actually, I was supposed to compliment you. In fact, I saw these Novus robots on Mahindra's new assembly lines for their latest EVs. And I was really delighted to see how those AGVs and those autonomous vehicles were taking up the roles of bringing the material in all the way to the line and to the people who are fitting those parts on the vehicles.
Correct. So the way we are looking at the Novus factory would be, the product is carried by a mobile robot, an autonomous mobile robot, as well as all the delivery of the parts is also happening through mobile robots. Now you can have humans assemble or you can have robots assemble. It depends on
Correct.
the scale and what you intend to do with it.
Right.
But this entire orchestration has also a software pipeline which is orchestrating this.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's linked to the MES system and the ERP system of the factory, and it's truly smart manufacturing. I would say.
Right.
So we are ushering in true smart manufacturing. Industry 5.0, I would say, because it's human-centric.
Right.
4.0 was cyber-physical systems, just talking about automation and connectivity. Right. Now, human in the center.
Right.
Our ADAS philosophy is also same, human-centric, and our mobile robotics or robotic strategy in general is also human-centric.
Right.
So how do we make automation effective with a human in the loop?
Right.
And that's what will work in India, because we have people. We need to give them jobs also. We need to use their best abilities.
Right.
And let the drudgerous work be done by robots.
Right. Yeah. Just lastly, Mr. Kapuria, what sort of growth do you anticipate for both the verticals, going forward, maybe by the end of this decade?
I think we have some very huge targets. I won't name them. As they say, never share your goal till you achieve it, right? But I can just tell you that we are at at the start of the inflection point. We're just at the edge of the inflection point.
Right.
And you will see a vertical takeoff.
Right.
And that's how we look at it.
Right.
Our both verticals, they have their own growth paths, which are very significant.
Right.
They're multiple X's growth. It's not percentage. It is 4x, 5x, 6x. 10x kind of growth that we are looking at over the next 3 to 5 years.
Right. And are you also looking at some M&As, some collaborations?
That will happen. I think, we are cognizant of the fact that we will not develop everything from scratch. We are always looking for such opportunities if they present themselves and they are favorable and there's a business case for it.
Right.
We are continually searching for it.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. Mr. Kapuria, pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.